YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you new here, my name is Hush Hush. I usually do spiritual related videos. I also talk about my I talk about my transition on testosterone. I talk about quite a few things here. If you guys are interested, I do have a metaphysical shop where I actually sell a lot of my hoodoo oils, candles, and things of that nature. And you can also check out my fantasy fiction book, The Angel Keeper, that is right here in the link below. What am I talking about today? First of all, please excuse me, because I do not have my tripod. I don't know what the fuck happened to it. One of my kids got over to it, was looking at it, talking about what's this, and then that's all it takes and the shit is missing. I am going to talk about one thing that I thought I would never have to fucking talk about, because this was something that I had talked against, and I was like, there's no way in hell that I'm going to go do this with my transition, and that is bottom surgery. I'm going to talk about this here because there is not a whole lot of videos that actually talk about this too much. So look, I got top surgery in March of 2024. And that was also when I went on a full dose of testosterone, because up until that point, I had only been on a low dose of testosterone. Now, around that time, me personally, I was very much like, okay, well, I don't plan on doing anything else. Understand this. It took me a lot it took a lot within me to be able to agree to have top surgery. And the reason being is because it was something that I was just absolutely terrified of. I was like, I don't want to go and do surgery. It was just really scary. I knew that it would be very hard I'm saying really hard to recover, but that's due to the fact that I have 4 children. I was like, I don't know how exactly that was going to happen, especially being that my oldest child has special needs. So I didn't even know how I was going to go about doing that. But ultimately what happened to me was I realized that it was more harmful for me to go through with trans tape and constantly taping myself week after week, day after day, compared to just getting a one and done, dealing with the healing, and then being to the point where I'm like, I don't have to tape anymore and I'm just free. That was when I went ahead and went about my whole top surgery journey. Now, what I never heard anybody talk about was the fact that what usually happens to a lot of trans people in general, I'm saying trans people because there are people that are trans non-binary, trans men. I'm not too sure if this happens with trans women, but I'm going to include trans women too. But what happens is that essentially you have an overload of dysphoria up here. And this is what your primary focus is on. You're like, oh my fucking God, I can't stand this. I can't wait until I get rid of these. And then you are filled with massive euphoria immediately after that surgery when you're able to see yourself and you're like, oh my fucking God, this is great. I feel amazing. And then it redirects your dysphoria to your bottom dysphoria. Now, fun fact about me, I've had bottom dysphoria, but it was nowhere near as big as my top dysphoria. My top dysphoria after I started taping, and then on the days that I couldn't tape, there were days where it was so bad that I felt like I could go into a panic attack. It was really, really bad. That is just ultimately how it affected me. The thing was, I did have bottom dysphoria, but it wasn't that bad. It was more so of I kind of felt like I could do with or do without. It didn't feel like a necessity for me. And then after top surgery, that changed. Now, what ended up happening for me was that after I had top surgery, again, I felt great. I felt amazing. I realized that I was having dysphoria in ways that I didn't really realize. That's another thing that was really amazing for me was once I was able to put on t-shirts, I was like, whoa, that's why I didn't like the way this shirt fit or this vest fit. Because for me, my dysphoria was not so outward. It was I just feel uncomfortable. I don't know what it is. After I started taping, that was when I noticed most of the dysphoria, and I was like, oh, so that's what it was. So mind you, I felt great. And this happened for some months where I was like, man, these hoodies feel amazing. These shirts feel amazing. This is just a feeling. And, my inner child was happy because when I was a kid, that was one of the things that I wanted. I was like, man, this feels amazing. And then what started to happen to me was the massive amount of bottom dysphoria. So I found myself where I was very much I had to wear a packer every day. I was becoming so uncomfortable that I kind of felt like I could cry about it at night. There were times where I had to go to sleep and make sure that I packed. I was just so dysphoric. And this was something that had not been bothering me before. And I personally, outside of the top surgery, have realized that as time has went on, that the dysphoria has just gotten worse and worse when I started to align with who I recognize myself as in the mirror, right? I ended up like researching. I'm gonna see if I can put like the link down below to this guy. And he was one of the guys that I watched. It was actually talking about how this is actually quite common, and he went to go get bottom surgery. And when I was talking, like watching him talk about it, I was like, absolutely not. I'm not about to go get bottom surgery. That is not something that I'm going to do, because me personally, I just felt like, I feel like there's a couple of reasons. With people of color, there's not like a lot of representation of like trans guys that end up getting a phallus. So it's kind of hard to find people that are of color that are saying like, hey, like I went and I had surgery and it went well. You get what I mean? Okay, sorry about that. I had to run outside to go grab my kid off the bus. The thing is that there's not a lot of representation. The only other person that I had seen like prior to like my transition, I'm going to see if I can find him and link him below. I do follow him on Instagram, but these are the only individuals that I had ever seen that had went through with bottom surgery for that. However, me personally, I was like, I never was interested in phalloplasty, because I was very much like, I personally felt like it would make me more dysphoric. I felt like when I researched it to like find out more info about it, I felt like it was too risky. As far as I know, the last time that I researched it, y'all could correct me if things have changed since then, but they were talking about it takes you, or it's like 10 years. Every 10 years, you have to replace the equipment in order to be able to hold an erection. So I had really decided against that like a long time ago. But the thing is that I had always said within this past year, I was like, if I ever did any sort of bottom surgery, it would be metoidioplasty, because metoidioplasty just works what you already have. And that would be more doable for me. I felt like that would be fine, because honestly, I don't even know how I would feel about a full-blown flat phallus being located in that area, to be honest with you. So again, I had spoke against it and all of that, and it took me a long time to be able to research and to accept that. Honestly, I think I'm gonna sorry, Tober's stepping into the camera, my cat. So it took me a long time in order to like really accept that, like, you know what, I actually do want to get metoidioplasty. I've seen like most of the results with it look great. It's just a matter of like researching or knowing like when I could get it or preparing for it. But this was a long thing that I had to accept, and it was just because I realize of how dysphoric I am. And just to help some of you out that are watching this, dysphoria does not always come off as plain as day as like, ooh, I'm unhappy with this and I'm dysphoric and I don't like the way this feels. It can very much come off as, for me, I will obsess over said body part. And with the obsession over it, I'm like, man, it would just be really nice if it was like this instead of like this. And when I am obsessing over it like that, then I'm like, oh shit, you need the pack. That's actually dysphoria, because the vernacular of it just sounds differently. So for me personally, I've accepted that I will have to go and get bottom surgery for the sake of my mental health. And this was something that I didn't think that I would ever have to do. So be advised, people. It is very possible that your bottom dysphoria could skyrocket through the roof after top surgery, because that's definitely what happened to me. But it took me almost a year to be able to accept that and be like, you know what, yeah, this is something that I gotta do. So hopefully this helps somebody and lets them be aware of that, and they're able to act accordingly if they can, because I know that especially with the political climate, it's kind of hard to be able to accept that and not know what's going to happen in the future. But, you know, just something to keep in mind. But please don't forget to like and subscribe. And thank you guys for watching. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.